Lake Louise? Yep, you ever heard of that place? Lake Louise? Ring a bell? You know that really blue, nice lake you see on all these postcards with some beautiful, gorgeous castle-like hotel that I could never afford to stay in? You seen that place before? Ring a bell? It's really pretty lake. But you know what's even prettier? Taking perfect pow turns just up the road at Lake Louise Ski Resort.
I-35 with the top down, quick to tell a hater they should get like me. Seem like everybody wanna be the boss, but it costs and these lames ain't shit like me. Drop a couple bands on the...
Whew. Lake Louise is the place where actually I took my first ever product shots of the liquid courage hot sauce. But also, Lake Louise is one of the best ski resorts on earth, and for good reason. The views are absolutely phenomenal. Can't be beat. The terrain is amazing. It's mixed. It's varied. And the lodge is incredible.
Oh my God.
The biggest lodge, like a starship.
Space, a final front.
That might not be a draw for a lot of people, but for me, I still can't get over the size of the lodge. It was nuts. It's just like, how could something be that big? Kind of reminds me of the first time I went to a public shower at the public pool.
What the hell do you need a lodge that big for?
Enough of the bad jokes. Let's dive into the Rise in Alpine ski resort review. First off, let's talk about size. I'm still thinking about the lodge and the public pool. Lake Louise is large, it's big, it's a big resort, there's lots of terrain. You've got 4,200 acres of skiable terrain with a 991 meter vertical drop. That makes it the third largest ski resort in Canada, which is absolutely epic. And it feels, fairly empty when you're skiing it even on busy days because there's a lot of room to just spread out, enjoy, and explore. The lift system at Lake Louise is super solid. There's 11 lifts and there's one gondola, the Grizzly gondola. It's not necessary to take the gondola up. The bottom of the resort is right at the parking lot, but the gondola is nice for like a chilly day to get up kind of central to where you can pop off the backside or ski around. Lake Louise is actually building a new chair. I'm not sure when it's going to be in operation, but I think it's called the Juniper chair or something like that. And it's going to add even better access to the front side and kind of the West Bowl area of the front side. But I thought kind of the lift infrastructure was super solid and was able to kind of bot people around and keep people moving pretty good. Some high-speed quads, and there's still some triple chairs which are a bit slower, but not a big deal, kind of adds to the character of the resort. Navigating the mountain. Lake Louise is divided into 4 different zones, okay? You've got the front side, so the area all in the front where the gondola is. You've got the back side, which are all those kind of alphabet gullies, the ER runs, basically everything off the back. So if you come off the summit chair, you come off the Grizzly gondola, skiing off the back side, kind of self-explanatory. You've got West Bowl, so that's all the stuff kind of headed towards the front side. On the far side, I guess the west side, hopefully. And you've got the Larch zone, which is kind of, I guess, would be off kind of more the eastern side. I'm really bad with northeast, never eating soggy wieners. But essentially, those are the 4 zones on the mountain. The front side has less alpine, kind of more trees once you're below the West Bowl. The back side is all alpine, chutes, open bowls, that kind of thing. Larch is more kind of subalpine, so trees, all that kind of thing. Groomers. It's super easy to get from one zone to another on the mountains. You'll be able to bop around and explore quite easily throughout the day. The summit chair gets you to the highest point on the mountain, and I definitely recommend doing a couple laps where you go all the way up to the summit chair, ski all the way down, then loop to the bottom. So if you do go up to the summit chair and ski off the backside, to get back to those high runs in the backside, you do have to take 2 lifts, a bit of a taxi ride to get back up, to be able to get back up on the summit chair. Lake Louise is an awesome spot for beginner skiers and riders. About a quarter of the mountain is dedicated to green runs. A lot of them are really wide, really approachable. I probably skied with Waxy, the green run on the front side in early season, like 20 times because it was the only run that was open. and I loved it. It's a good transitional run, but also a good sender if you've got some space and it's wide open. I'd also recommend if you're a beginner spending time over on the Larch. I thought that's just some great terrain. And if you're beginner to intermediate and want to experience, you know, a couple bumps and something a little cooler, you go into Rock Garden. It's like a bumpy boulder field that's a blue and is a lot of fun, you know, for people who've never experienced like a boulder field type of thing. So lots of beginner options, and I'm pretty certain you can ride almost every chair as a beginner rider, kind of experience the entire mountain and feel pretty comfortable. So unlike a mountain like Kicking Horse, where you've got no chance of skiing it, having fun there as a beginner, for the most part, you'll have a lot of fun riding Lake Louise in terms of being able to explore as a beginner skier and rider. Intermediate and carving runs. If you're anything like me and you like getting out early in the morning, sharpening your edges up and laying down some arcs back and forth across the hill, then you'll like Louise. When it snows and stays cold, you just get that nice, squeaky, groomed run that's just got that stickiness. These are all the wrong ski terminologies, but you know what I'm saying. You can really get in and feel, what's the word, sticky? What word am I looking for? Let's just call it sticky, maybe. A lot of us aren't ski racers, and we're gonna sharpen our skis once a year, twice a year max. So like your edges most of the time aren't gonna be pristine and be able to handle boilerplate ice. So when you have these nice groomed kind of dustings and it stays cold, it's a lot more fun for carving for everybody. So at Lake Louise, some great zones for carving are just right on the front side. Basically anything on the front side is a good time. There's so many different run names on the front side that it's hard to like tell you a good link up to do, but essentially go down kind of under the Grizzly Gondola area and just like pick a blue, and like every time you see a trail sign, like keep picking a blue and carve your way down, and you're gonna have a great run. I really liked Old Ptarmigan, or you can try linking together Grizzly Gully to Home Run to Juniper and Juniper Jungle. I know that sounds pretty ridiculous. I also really liked Meadowlark and Boomerang. I thought they were good groomers and kind of give you a good view of the backside before you choose some more committing lines to ski. So nothing's better than carving with a view. Like you take a couple nice turns, heart rate gets going, quads get going, you look up and you're just like, wham, the Rockies, you know? It's freaking cool. It's really, really cool. Advanced and expert terrain. I think this is really where Lake Louise shines. They've got so much advanced and expert terrain. You could explore as an advanced skier for weeks, probably for seasons, and not get bored up there. The first run we did, we had no clue what we were doing. We wound up kind of in the West Bowl and in the trees, and it made for a super epic run with a bit of fresh snow. So there's really no bad choices. I think the best thing to do if you're going to be at Lake Louise is to keep kind of cycling those laps down the backside or down the West Bowl as an advanced skier. We had an awesome run down the Whitehorns. Those go off the summit chair. Absolutely amazing. So I'd recommend trying one of the Whitehorns. I'd recommend trying one of the Brown Cow Lines. It's like a little bit of a hike on the far side of the backside, which you can ski down. And I recommend playing around in West Bowl. West Bowl is this nice open bowl with this great kind of nice pitch lines. And then at the bottom, it turns into like tree exploration. So Lake Louise has amazing kind of mixed advanced terrain, and the great thing is on a clear day you can kind of just see everything up there, so you can kind of pick and choose the lines that you want to ski. If you're skiing Lake Louise and you're advanced expert skier, I'd recommend to just try like one of everything. Do a lap down the Alphabet Gullies in the backside, do a lap or two through the West Bowl, try a lap on the Brown Cow Zone. It's a little hike where you hike up and you ski down, super fun. I also really liked ER3 and ER6 coming off kind of the Paradise Chair. Super cool steep lines, lots of rocks, kind of peppered, but like makes it, you know, exciting and gives you a bit more of a clench. I think Lake Louise really beats out Sunshine Village in this category of like advanced and expert terrain, and that's what Sunshine's missing. Sunshine's like beginner or delirium dive, you know? Beginner or butt clench, but Lake Louise has like very good staged runs and lots of advanced and expert terrain. So you're really just not going to get bored exploring there for the whole day. The only thing you might be disappointed by is lack of snowfall potentially, but at least you get great views and you get to explore. Extreme terrain. I don't want to say Lake Louise doesn't have any extreme terrain. It definitely does. The alphabet gullies are pretty extreme. The ER runs are pretty extreme. You know, I thought they stood for emergency room, but they stand for Eagle Ridge. In terms of the runs that were open, the alphabet gullies are definitely the most extreme that I saw, but I had horrible visibility the day that we were there, so we didn't really get a chance to dabble in how extreme things could get. I think Sunshine Village is more extreme, the inbound runs that they have open, but once again, extreme skiing isn't really about the pitch, the steepness, you know, other than death exposure, that makes things very extreme. It's about how you approach the run. So you can make any of these expert runs at Lake Louise like quite extreme. They just don't visibly, to me, look as like, I'm on a cornice above a 50-foot cliff and I could die type of thing, but who wants to be on that? Anyways. So really good sweet spot in terms of like the advanced and expert terrain. And like for me, that's all I'm looking for at a resort. Extreme is fun, but like it's kind of nice when you can just ski, not worry about dying, right? Tree skiing. You all know that tree skiing is really deeply important to me, and Lake Louise has lots of it, lots of good tree skiing. Some of the zones I liked at Lake Louise were the East Bull trees. So kind of when you go down the Eagle Ridge runs, turns into like a good tree area down there. I also really love the trees below West Bull. You could adventure in those all day. So you ski West Bull, then you just get into this huge gladed area and basically just explore however you please. There's some gullies and kind of cool features and just explore all the way down. We also got lost on some trees, I believe, beside Meadowlark on the front side, and like had quite the adventure all the way down back to the bottom. The nice thing about the trail map, you know, when you're exploring in the trees, it's pretty easy to not leave the bounds of the resort. So if you got a good mapping tool, like Fat Map, rest in peace if we're not gonna have that anymore, but you can like, you know, pull it out, save map, and make sure you're still within the bounds of the resort. But like you can really get to exploring in the trees. Tree skiing's great, would be insane on a great pow day. Only downside is that, you know, Lake Louise doesn't get a ton of snow. So the trees aren't always loaded, but they've got good tree skiing. Snow conditions and climate. You couldn't ask for much more from Lake Louise in terms of terrain. It's awesome, and views, it's awesome. The one thing Lake Louise is lacking is a lot of snowfall. I believe their average is about 454 centimeters of snow a year. That's close to like half of what Sunshine Village just up the road gets. And I think that's about like a third of what Whistler gets. I think Whistler, we're getting like 1,300 centimeters of snow a year. Now, with that being said, when it does snow, it stays cool and the snow stays really nice. I also find Lake Louise and the Rockies, they get these kind of like dustings versus like the mega dumps like Whistler gets. Like Whistler would get like 50, 100, you know, like just some ridiculous numbers. But I feel like kind of the Rockies there gets more of these like, you know, 5 centimeters, 8 centimeters, 6 centimeter dustings, which makes for really, really good skiing. But you can't always expect to have like mega pow days. To me, it's not a big deal. Some of the best days of my life have been on 4 to 8 centimeters of snow. Like that's nothing, right? It's just enough to soften it up and you can ski freely all day long. But that's definitely an area where Lake Louise is lacking, is kind of in snowfall. Also, cold weather. You know, you're in the Rockies, you're in Alberta. It can get freezing. Like it can be really, really cold. You know, we're Canadians. We got liquid courage. You know how it goes. Just layer up, drink some hot sauce, and fight the cold. But yeah, like obviously tends to be chillier, so that can always be a downside in terms of climate. Alpine bowl skiing. Louise, in the upper parts, there's a few bowls that you need to try. The West Bowl, the East Bowl, and you got to try the backside. Those 3 areas are all kind of bowls, and then on the front side, the top part feels like a bowl to a certain degree, but lots of alpine to play. So if you like open alpine skiing, it's a great place to be. It's not all treed out, so a lot of it is in the alpine, which is epic. Terrain parks. Lake Louise has got a super solid terrain park, and it's right underneath the glacier chair, which is nice because you can throw down in front of a crowd. As per usual, I didn't go into the terrain park. Lift lines. Lake Louise is, you know, a world-renowned destination. The reality is there's going to be some lift lines here and there, especially on big snow days, holiday days, or weekend days. Nothing in the world compares to how bad the lines at Whistler can get, at least anywhere that I've gone and experienced. When I was there, Lake Louise was absolutely dead. It was ski on, ski off on every single chairlift, and we just lapped vert all day long. They're building a new chair, so I'm sure that's gonna, increase flow even more. Backcountry access. I personally don't know anything about Lake Louise's backcountry. I could see some pretty sweet access spots and lines from kind of the top of the summit area. I don't want to make any recommendations. Once again, I just would want to remind you, if you're skiing in the Rockies, it's a different snowpack than the Sea to Sky. So make sure you've got your gear. You potentially have a guide, or you're really dialed with your weather and avalanche forecasting, because the snowpack is volatile out there. So be careful. But there's definitely great touring options all around the area and potentially from the resort. Views. The views. Words can't describe how nice the views are at Lake Louise. You get into the parking lot and even the views are just blowing your mind. Like, you can't look anywhere without seeing a monster jagged peak. The Rockies hit absolutely different, and Lake Louise is top of the list for some of the best views on any ski resort I've ever been to, without a doubt. I'd also recommend, if you've never seen the lake, to go pop by the lake for a skate or a walk after your ski day too. It's really beautiful with the glacier and the mountain in the background. It'll be frozen in the wintertime, so not as nice the summertime, but views are everywhere. You literally can't step a foot or ski a line in Banff or Lake Louise without seeing an amazing view. It's the bottom line. That's what makes it so amazing. Tickets and passes. Lake Louise is affiliated with Icon, Mountain Collective, and Ski Big 3. Last year, I got my Ski Big 3 pass for just under $500, and you get 3 ski days. You have to use them within 5 days, which is super fun because you can spend like 2 days chilling, hanging out, exploring town. So I think that's just like a nice, kind of a nice balance of ski days if you're visiting somewhere, which is fun. All in all, I'd recommend Lake Louise to absolutely anybody. It's an amazing trip and it's a bucket lister. And if you're a skier, you've got to get to Lake Louise once in your life. It's an incredible place to ski. The mixed terrain is wonderful. All skill levels are going to have a good time and be stimulated. The views are just, it's inexplainable how nice they are. You got to go. It's the kind of thing you got to see with your own pupils. I'm not a good enough of a camera guy to capture views like that. Like, it's an eyeball kind of place. It's amazing, like eyeball poppingly nice. The only downsides to Louise are what I mentioned: the cold temperatures and sometimes the lack of snowfall. So you're not getting as much snow at Louise as you are at some of the other, powder highway resorts or coastal resorts. But it kind of makes up for it with the vibe and the terrain and the views. You don't really notice all that much. And another good thing is, if you've got the Ski Big 3 pass, just watch the forecast. If you see more snow falling at Sunshine Village, you can just go to Sunshine Village for a day or two and one day at Louise. So you can just always watch the forecast and make a call based off where the snow is best. If Lake Louise had more snowfall, it would just be like so high on the list. Probably, honestly, better than Whistler Blackcomb. It's already one of the top resorts in the world, so it'd almost be too good. It'd be way too good. It would be way too good. Give me a shout in the comments if you got any questions related to Lake Louise. I'd love to help out. Or let me know in the comments what you think about Lake Louise, what your experience was there. It's nice for everyone to kind of learn from each other in the comments about, what they like about certain hills, tips, tricks. It's all helpful, so leave in the comments. I really appreciate it. And everyone else in this awesome community that we're building here really appreciates it as well. If you want to see me ski Lake Louise, check out the my first time skiing Lake Louise video from last year, and you'll see kind of the full day video of us just shredding the resort and having a great time, and also eating really good chili, exploring that big lodge. But anyways, that's it. There's another Rise in Alpine review. Stay spicy, stay safe. We're getting one day closer to the ski season starting, so snow will be falling soon, and I'll see you out there. Sayonara.